Welcome to What the Frac. We are your fractional team, and today we break down marketing trends, strategies, and tactics in 30 minutes or less so that you can do the fun stuff like be creative. Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of What the Frac Live. Tamara, I am extremely excited today. We have a little bit of a celebrity here on the show.
I know. I'm so happy about today's episode.
Well, let me introduce you to her. Her name is Veronica Romney. She is a certified master marketer, international keynote speaker, podcast host, and author with over 17 years of experience helping elite brands transform their marketing strategies. Just a few names that she's worked with is Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Chief of Staff at Boss Babe, Director of Marketing Suite Products for a $2 billion software company. I mean, she's seen marketing evolve from every angle, and I've been following her for years and years and years, but this book right here, if you do not have it and you are a marketer or looking to expand your business, I would highly recommend going to the show notes below and getting it. But we will be talking about this today. So welcome to the show, Veronica.
Oh, this is like, thank you. What a hype woman.
I know. I've never heard Nicole like hit the desk like that. When she's excited talking about this.
So excited.
No pressure. No pressure. Thank you.
Very sweet. Out over there. I love it.
So, I mean, I want to start. I have so many places to go to, but let's start with a little bit of background. Like, how did you get to where you are today? We heard all those big names, but how did we get to identity marketing?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, other than like my 15-year marriage, the relationship that I have with marketing is the longest I've ever been in, right? Like I've never deviated. I might be doing it in different ways. Like I definitely have different albums of my career, but I'm still a marketer throughout all of it. Identity marketing, actually, again, I've been doing it for years, but it's always been the engine to what I would then say was what everybody would see publicly. So like for years, I was helping, marketers become Rainmakers, or CEOs not have to be chief everything officers to be visionaries and have visionary KPIs. Like if I think back at some of the work that I was doing in my programs, like it was always there, but identity marketing became a thing actually as a result of a personal crisis where my sister got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so because of her diagnosis and because we as a family witnessed her identity crisis of like, who am I now with this demon on me, right? Like nobody desires cancer. It's the worst of the worst. And so watching her wrestle with her identity, becoming, a breast cancer patient, a breast cancer victim, a warrior. And now I can, very happily share that she's a breast cancer survivor. But her identity was changing. This is my baby sister. And then what also was a byproduct of this was that my identity was changing. Like, who am I for her? Who am I as a person? How do I define the relationship I have with my body and how I see myself and I desire and have always identified as a fit person, but I don't really care about the weight on the scale anymore. Now I just want to live forever and never have to go through the same thing she did, So anyways, I wrote the word identity on my mirror in the peak of her tribulation. And then literally a couple months later, it became a whole freaking book. So here we are.
I think that is something that so many people, Tamara, I bet you can relate to this as well. Like, I know I've talked to many business owners, especially female founders, who go through this idea that their identity changes so much throughout their lives, especially, both of you are moms, right? We go through identity changes as females, but as founders, we go through an identity change. And this is something I recently started going to therapy. I highly recommend it to anyone, even if you're not in a crisis, and started realizing that like my identity as a business owner is not the same as my identity as a person. And I think that identity marketing and personal brand and brand, like corporate brand, are all different things, but we lump them together. So can you give us a little bit of like, what, for someone who doesn't know anything about identity marketing, what is it?
Yeah. So let's define it. I define identity marketing as connecting your brand so deeply with your consumer's identity, meaning who they are, but also who they wish to become, that in many cases, or in some really cool stories, they will literally be buried in your brand. So this goes beyond swag. This goes beyond even having, you know, a company's logo tattooed on your skin. Like in the case of Harley Davidson, people will literally be buried in Harley Davidson caskets or sitting taxidermy style on their motorcycle being lowered into the ground. Like they're not buried as Harley Davidson buyers. They're being buried as Harley Davidson hogs. Like their identity is a hog. And it's so entrenched in who they are and how they wish to be remembered that they'll go to that level of extreme, and their families will honor that identity into the grave. So that's why identity marketing is, I mean, it's like the most profound work I've ever researched, studied, and now obviously explored for and on behalf of businesses who are going to read the book and then apply the framework. Because I think oftentimes as a marketer, we are being taught brand identity, which is like, you know, my rust color red, and it's my sexy font, and it's my brand voice, and it's all the gift wrapping that we get to have fun within our control, which is a very external process. And Harley Davidson has one of the most iconic brand identities on the planet. Like when you see Harley, it's like very American. It's America. Like it's, you know, it's black, leather, shiny. But their identity marketing is even more profound, in my opinion, that people are being buried in that brand.
Yeah, that's incredible. I actually just watched a segment about Liquid Death and how they are kind of the next Harley Davidson, right? People are doing the same things. They're getting tattoos.
Yeah.
They're becoming, their identity is coming into the same brand.
Yeah.
And so now I'm curious. So now Nicole has read the book and I have not. So I feel like this is a really good dynamic because you mentioned the framework and I was like, okay, I wanted to find out from you, what is the difference between just creating like a customer profile and a customer identity? And then I want questions about.
Actually, you know what? I've actually, in all of the interviews that I've done, I've never been asked that question. So touche.
Really?
Yeah, really.
So
I'm actually
that's the start.
very excited to answer that because it's one of the big things I say on stage when I do my keynote is like, what happens when your ideal customer avatar isn't they don't know how ideal they are anymore. So this is a perfect question because I think all of us, especially if you've been in marketing or you've been taught marketing, all of us to some degree have been taught how to do a buyer persona, an ideal customer avatar, like the ICP work. Like even big corporations will spend an obscene amount of money to do some of this profiling.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is. It's profiling. Even, I think marketing in the political atmosphere is like the gauntlet of marketing. Like to do political marketing is like, oh my gosh, but they do it too. And I think most of the time when you're doing this type of persona or profiling of your ideal customer, it is very demographic based. Like, oh, we target 35 to 45-year-old women who have 2.5 children on average. They have an affinity for Lululemon and Volvo cars, and they live in these zip codes. And, so I think that's the atypical approach, which I'm not saying it's not important. But when I say identity marketing, it's not defined by demographic or labels. It's really more like core belief systems of self. So like you and I we're both mothers. That could be a label, but how you define what a good mother is might be radically different than how I define a good mother. Like some people define being a great mom as being a stay-at-home mom, and I don't agree with that. I do not subscribe to that at all. So like my definition of what it means to be a great mom is not because I'm at home, but for some people it is. And so then with that said, how I define it will determine if I think I'm a good mom or a bad mom. So like when I say identity marketing, it's the psychological basement of who I am, how I see myself, what I call myself, and also what I aspire to become in a self-actualization journey, which is not the same thing as identity on demographic.
That makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, Nicole. I love that.
I know. I was going to say that's huge because I think that something I've seen, especially recently with the rise of AI and the talk about authenticity and all these pieces, is that when I run like core value workshops or these branding workshops with clients, it's like really hard for them to grasp the concept of who they are. And when digging through like their content on their website, like why is it not attracting the right people? It's generally because they're having a little bit of an identity crisis.
100.
themselves. And even when we go back to like the Dylan Mulvaney, Bud Light commercial and all of that, if you think about it, we talked about how that's like a big step away from what their core values and their identity was for years and years. So how do you move a brand that's been around forever with one identity to another? And I think that these pieces are so important, especially as we talk about moving into the future of where marketing, branding, business, technology is going. And it seems like a step back, but it's not. So I guess you answer a little bit of a question I had, which is over the last 17 years that you've seen marketing evolve, like what's the biggest shift that business owners should adapt to?
Oh gosh. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I've been a marketer for a really long time and I still hold it with a lot of affection and love. Like as much as I'm watching the Super Bowl for the game, I'm also equally, if not more, watching it for the Easter eggs in the Super Bowl halftime show or the commercials, right? Like I'm obsessed and I can't walk in the world without seeing it always from a marketing lens. You brought up Budweiser. That's a really, it's funny because I bring them up in my book as an example of actually not getting their identity marketing correct. Same thing with Pepsi. Pepsi also tried to call us the Pepsi generation. And we were like, no, we're not. so sometimes some of the biggest brands with some of the biggest budgets will actually get this wrong. And that's the thing about identity marketing that I want people to understand. This is not a gimmick. And this is not just like a cutesy name for your community or your Facebook group. This is how somebody on their own into the grave individually sees themselves, and you aligning your messaging and the branding and the aesthetic to speak to that. I want to talk about Volvo. Volvo is not an example in the book, but it's a personal one for me because I drive a Volvo. And Volvo and Jaguar had a moment last year because they both did some iconic marketing campaigns around the same time. And everybody was like, what the hell did you do, Jaguar? Well, everybody was celebrating Volvo. So if you're not familiar, Jaguar just gutted their iconic brand of over 100 years into this kind of woke, multicolor dimension, all in, like they're just doing electric cars. They completely gutted them. I mean, like everything that we know to be true about Jaguar, I'm like, what happened? What happened? What happened? And it just seems like you can throw so many colors at something and then what? And then Volvo came out with this commercial of commercials, like first of all, the production and the execution is superb, but it's the story of a woman finding out that she's pregnant for the first time. And she's like losing her mind. Like, oh my gosh, it's a surprise. You can tell it's like a surprise. She tells her boyfriend or partner, he's having a conversation with his mom on the phone while this, newly found out, discovered pregnant woman is like walking. And as she's about to cross the street, she almost gets hit by a car. And so like, he's like, it's flashing all of the scenes of what his life would be with this partner, with this little girl, with this future. And it's almost ripped away from them. But like, here's the plot twist. It's the Volvo that actually detected her in front of the car before the driver did and stops the vehicle. Cause that's the Volvo's big positioning that has been around forever, hasn't changed, is safety first. Like I literally have a Volvo because it's a sexy mom car that's safe. Right. So like the car senses the woman, stops, saves her life, saves this beautiful couple's future. But if you think about the casting of the woman crossing the street, she's a sexy mom, beautiful woman. The woman who's driving the vehicle, guess what? The Volvo buyer who's driving the vehicle, also a beautiful woman. What does that tell you? And so like, I was just, it's funny to me because like people ask me like, well, why do I have a Volvo? And honestly, like I've been I'm a mom of 11 years now. I bought a Volvo because I still didn't want to lose my identity as a woman. Like I felt like buying a minivan would be like a surrender of who I was. No offense to minivan drivers, but like I had this like anxiety around possibly like trading in my car to get a minivan. But then I also like this new identity was emerging as like, I'm a mom now. And like the safety of my child, my safety of my family is everything. That's like a core value as family now too. So like, how do I have these two identities, like this, this ambitious and independent woman that I was, and now I'm having this family. How do I reconcile it? And then the Volvo was my answer. I could literally still have a beautiful vehicle that I could drive to a nice client meeting that still had the #1 safety rating for my kids. I could be the great mom and the great independent, look at me, fierce, sexy mom in one vehicle. And that commercial spoke to all of my identities and then some. And I'm like, you just nailed it.
Yeah.
I love this from a communication standpoint, right? Because if you think about, okay, marketing, you're targeting people,
Yeah.
but for the people who have to make the communication part of marketing, this really simplifies what they need to say.
Yeah.
Right? What
Yeah.
you're speaking to, because you're speaking to the pain point and
Mhm.
what and where you're going to get them to. And it kind
Mhm.
of simplifies it in that way.
Mhm.
At least in the way
Mhm.
that I'm hearing you say it. That
Mhm.
as someone
Yeah.
who does a lot of the communication part,
Mhm.
like, holy cow, your plan is a lot more simple.
Yeah. Well, I think what it does too is it spearheads the communication, not speaking to somebody's surface level wants and desires, but really to like the basement of like if you've ever done that exercise of like the 7 levels why, like, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? For financial freedom. Why do you want financial freedom? Like you're always posing the answer as the next question. And if you go through 7 levels deep, you get to the real answer, right? So I feel like identity marketing just skips all that crap and goes right to the bottom, right to the real answer, which is really appealing for me because I tend to be more of a deep end of the pool type of person. Like I don't desire shallow relationships at this age. No, thank you. And I think consumers have never been more savvy and smart and also distrusting. So like their bullshit detector is through the roof. So don't come to me with shallow gimmicks. I'm not here for it anymore, you know?
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
and the example that you brought up right before this, when you're talking about Pepsi, right? That's exactly what brands try and do from the start. Is they try and say, "Oh, we are cool. You should be like us,"
Yeah.
and you're flipping that, and you're saying, "You're cool. We want you to be like your past."
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and I think this too, I run into people almost every day who like don't understand what's going on in like the influencer marketing space and how they are building such a brand and like how they make money and all these pieces and why brands should pay them. And I think that, you know, at a very deep level, it was always identity marketing, right?
Mhm.
You just put a name to it. But what they're doing is they're putting out we like to use the word authentic. I think it's been overused now, but that authentic relationship building that for years was like a sales technique, right? You build a relationship just like your neighbor, right? You build a relationship with your neighbor. You become friends because you guys are interested in the same things. You see each other, you relate to each other. There's a shared core value there. They're just bringing you in to their life in technology.
Mhm.
And then they're saying, hey, because we are the same, here's this product that I am really much love that you should love too, right? And I think that that's why we're seeing bigger and larger conversion rates. Do you feel the same way on like that piece?
I have a strong point of view when it comes to influencer marketing. So I also believe in not negating. I believe in yes and. So I hear what you're saying. Yes. And I will say there are 2 camps of influencer marketing. One that I enjoy more. So the camp that I'm not a big fan of is where influencers basically solicit whether it's their own products or a brand's products, but they're basically the narrative is you buy this so you can be like me.
Mm.
Like you buy this influencer course because you want to have my life. And so because of that, I'm going to showcase my car. I'm going to showcase my bag. I'm going to showcase my home. Like I'm going to really dangle my lifestyle so that when I pitch you anything, it's really because you want to be me. And there's a lot of influencers or accounts that have that narrative. And I'm not a fan. I think it's actually wildly manipulative because it's never truthful. Like I've worked behind those brands and they will have this most beautiful polished Instagram story, but then I'm getting a call with them crying about how much they hate their husband, they hate their life, they hate something. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so talk about disingenuous, right? Then there's the influencers that I really enjoy following, which is like, hey, don't be me. I don't want you to be me. I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing to help me be the best version of me.
Mm.
So those stories where like people are being vulnerable of like I'm just having the like what's her name? She's like one of my favorite mom influencers, Nikki Marie. Like she's just living her best single mother life. She's a mess and she's like I'm trying to be a good mom. I'm trying to do these things and then obviously she has her humor and she has all of her fun stuff. But like never at any point in me following this woman do I feel like in order to have the life that she has, I should buy the things that she's buying. It's like, no, she's just documenting her messy self-actualization journey. And if I can somehow relate to that, like I'm also too identifying as a messy mom that I don't have my shit together. And like, that's actually really nice. And I too am on this self-actualization journey, and you found something that helps you. Maybe that can also help me. That's a very different narrative than me trying to be you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that take, just because it's so hard to go online now on Instagram, especially with the algorithms. And I feel like I'm right in that age where like I'm just getting targeted with like vitamins and medications.
Oh, same.
I turned off Instagram for now I'm just in stories, because then I don't get all of the kind of crash in the algorithm. But no, so I appreciate that. And I think that I'm just going back because I'm loving this identity. It speaks to the pain points and the aspiration versus, I guess, the wrong aspirations of just being like, oh, that beautiful picture and I need to be thin, perfect. And which also usually in those cases, the influencers, I'm making a very broad brush, got their engagement may not be what you think it is.
Totally.
So if you're trying to engage with them in like a business deal in order for them to sell your products, I would really scrutinize their metrics. Because I'd be curious what engagement you're going to get.
Yeah. It's an interesting space. And I think it's a delicate balance. Like, at what point do you cross the line between I'm just trying to be the best version of me and, hey, do you want to be me? That like, and it's very difficult because you're still showcasing your life. And so I have a whole section in the book. Actually, I called upon my really good friend, Kelly Ruda, who's a clinical psychotherapist, I guess. And she helped me write this whole section in the book about like identity marketing with integrity, because as much as I was teaching you how to leverage this very powerful psychological tool in your marketing, so too could people use it to manipulate. And so let us not, and to how to avoid those manipulative techniques or cult-like behaviors, knowing that you can prey upon somebody's like imposter syndrome or whatever. And so there's a really beautiful section of the book that I'm very proud of, to like, let's not create mini yous. Let's not do these things. Let's help people be the best version of them.
Yeah. And I think the two examples that you have in here that, we'll let people go and read, but that I thought were really interesting. One of which is how me and you actually connected, which is all about the political campaigns and the Trump versus, Kamala. We don't ever talk about politics on here, and it's not a political thing. It is really about the marketing and the identity marketing in the camps, and then the Smash Army, which was a viral sensation recently. And you guys can go read it, but we talked about it in another episode, and both of those are really good examples of using it. Even with Smash Army, there was a lot of conspiracy talk about that. Was this planned? Was this a real situation? Which either way, they learned what their people wanted and what the audience needed, and they figured it out.
Yeah. It's so funny. So one of the proudest moments I've ever had was very recently. One of my, closest team members, she's been with me for years, Casey, was like, V, I still don't know who you voted for. Like, you were so like politically ambiguous. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, it is like a deep honor that you would say that, because first of all, who I voted for has nothing to do with anything. Like, has nothing to do with anything. Do I believe in the power of voting? Yeah. As a Cuban immigrant daughter, like, right. Of course I believe in your power to exercise that right. But like, it doesn't matter where I stand. But do I have really strong opinions and perspectives on this last political campaign? For sure. And it's so funny. We wrote the book before the results of the November election. And then we had to rush back to the book to like, see, because it was even more proof that like one party leveraged identity marketing best, where the other party really, really floundered and did more demographic identity than true identity marketing. And so this is not a commentary on like what I believe. It's more just like, I feel really badly that one party really missed an opportunity and botched it, where the other one, I've never seen an identity marketing play better done in a political atmosphere.
Ah, love it. Okay.
So I'm so intrigued now. I'm
yeah, now you have to know. You have to know.
Nicole,
sorry.
can I jump in really quick? Or go ahead.
No. Go for it.
Well, because I want to make sure while we have you here, and especially we mentioned at the beginning, so people are probably like waiting to hear. You mentioned a framework.
Yeah.
Can you briefly just go over the framework and how, like what it is? That way people can then grab the book and dive more into it.
Yeah. So there was a moment that I had to make an executive decision. Like, do I want to just do identity marketing, the keynote presentation, and like go on stage and inspire you to look at your marketing differently? Yes. Or am I going to do a more intensive experience to like, okay, I can teach you this like paradigm shift, but now how the hell do you do it? Like, how do you do it? And so that was actually the deciding factor on whether or not it was going to be just a presentation I could give on stage, or it was going to be a book. Because the thing with the book, you have 35,000 words that you can communicate a how-to, right? There's space for the prescription. There's space for a recipe, so to speak. And so you're right. We did put a framework. It's called the identity code framework. It's 4 steps, because anything more than 4 is ridiculous. So it's 4. Like my parents are Cuban immigrants that started an air conditioning company when I was a little girl, and ran it for 33 years before they retired and sold it. So like, I wanted people like my parents that they could do this. I wanted anybody in any position, whether you were a Fortune 100 company or you were Nicole the intern who was $15 an hour with no marketing budget, doing the impossible in one of the most saturated markets on the planet, which is the beverage industry. So like, how could anyone in any position, regardless of size or product, be able to leverage this? So we made a 4-part code. The first step is where you find the marketable identity by being an identity secret shopper. The second step is where you validate it. We, just like the Pepsi generation try to call us their generation, and we politely said, kiss our peach. We can't impose an identity on somebody. It has to be adopted. It has to be adopted with free agency. And so you have to go through a prove it step, a validation step. Then step 3 is where you name it, meaning you give context to the name. So we found the name, Smash Army, Hogs, Swifties, whatever. But when I say that I named my kid James, the next question that people will ask you is, well, why'd you name him James? It's the same idea. Just because you have a really beautiful, marketable identity, you have to give it context. What does it mean? What's its origin story, aka birth story? What is its non-negotiables and values and philosophy and slogan? And I mean, like, what is it, right? And then my favorite step, the last step, which is such a beautiful kind of culmination, is now we dress it. So if somebody were to wear their identity externally, what does that look like? If a Rainmaker walks in the room, how do I know? How do I know it's a Rainmaker? How do I know it's a posse member from Copy Posse, or a funnel hacker from ClickFunnels? Like, you can tell when these people walk in the room. You're like, I know what you are. But that's because it's been a personification of the identity. They're wearing their faith. They're wearing their religion openly. And that's what we want you to do as well.
What I love about this is one of the things that I have. Veronica knows this already. My favorite part of the book is where she asks you to decide to scan a QR code, take a quiz, and not to read the whole book. Yeah. Because I think it is the most genius marketing move. And you can go to our Instagram. I have all the stories on there where I explain why it's a genius marketing move. I mean, it's just absolutely genius. But when I was reading through the book, one of the other pieces that I really loved is that you have these spots in here where you're talking about things around like how to imagine, right? How to think through it, like pretend you're on MTV Cribs and you give a tour. And the piece that really speaks to me is I do a same thing with, I call it the dinner party exercise, where you're inviting in your mind, you are inviting, your 6 people. It could be a celebrity, no friends and family. And now you start going through a conversation, because now we start seeing what's really important to you. Like, if the first question you ask is, oh, how much money do you make at your job? Yeah. Or like, what's your job? Or how they react in your head. They may not react, Chris Pratt may not react to my question the way that I say he does, but in my head, it tells me what I start thinking is important to me.
Yeah.
And so you can work through it. And you have a lot of these throughout the book, which are really helpful and actionable for people.
Thanks. You're very affirming, and words of affirmation are my love language. So thanks.
With that being said, you have a podcast called Rainmaker.
Rainmaker podcast. Yeah.
What does being a true rainmaker mean to you?
Ooh. Did you get to the back of the book yet?
I did.
Okay. So at the beginning of the book, I invite people to even consider themselves to be a marketer at all. It's fascinating to me. I facilitate these workshops with big companies. And I can say this, I recently did one for Burger King in their headquarters in Miami. Mind you, the only people that were invited to the physical room was because they reported through the marketing department, literally in title and in organizational chart. Are they marketers? And I will always ask the question to the group, like, how many of you, like me, proudly identify as a marketer? And it's shocking. Less than 30% of the room raised their hand. And I was like, what? Because again, I'm coming in with the assumption that we're all on the same page. Are we not all on the same page? Because a lot of my education, my teaching is starting from the fact that we're all from the same, cut of cloth here. And so I realized really quickly, like, first of all, don't ever assume, because you make an ass out of yourself. That's number one. Number two, let's all get on the same page of what it means to be a marketer before I can even invite you to become a rainmaker. So the way that I define marketing is, to me, marketing is just the ethical persuasion of getting someone to do something for their improvement, their good, their benefit, their self-actualization. Keyword ethical, and it's for whose good? Their good, not my good. I will win financially when I help them do that, but it's really for their good first. And if you define marketing in those terms, I know no woman, no mother, no ethical leader who is not in the constant daily act of persuading someone to do something for their good, whether it's your kids, your spouse, the PTA, whoever. Now, knowing that's just the foundation of what it means to be a marketer, and if you can accept that about yourself, regardless of your background, regardless of what you do, then I help you elevate that identity and transform into a rainmaker. And rainmakers, it's a level of mastery that is layered, right? One, you have to master yourself. You have to then master your team and your impact on somebody else and helping them achieve their greatest output. You have to master your role, and you have to master your thought leadership, your internal reputation. Where do you stand on this? What are your non-negotiables as a marketer, as a rainmaker? So rainmaking is just another level of marketing at a level of mastery that you can obtain and achieve.
Oh, yeah. I love it when something that feels so right is just said out loud.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. And once again, I've been following you for a long time, but this is the first full conversation, and where I feel like even in 30 minutes, I've learned so much. I know that you do workshops, you do personal trainings, all these things. I'm going to give one last question here. And I know, Tamara, we're running low on time, but what is the next big thing for you? What do you see?
No, I'm going to have an identity crisis. Oh no.
I need to know.
She just read the book. Does she have to do something?
Yeah, the thing with the book, it's so funny. It's like asking a woman who just gave birth, when are you going to have your another one? I was like, what? I'm literally still in stitches. Stop. So in many ways, I'm just being really honest. What we're recording this April 2nd. The book came out January 21st. I'm just now sleeping well. I'm just now feeling like my nervous system is coming to a baseline of regulation just now, which is wild, but I'm just being really forthcoming and honest. So that's been very interesting. The dopamine and the adrenaline just to get this thing to the world in a self-publishing route with my name after 20 years of doing marketing on a marketing book. Holy, it's a big deal. And so I didn't anticipate such a dopamine crash and the adrenaline on the other side. I know athletes talk about it on the other side of a Super Bowl win, or I know it's real. I very much have gone through it, and I'm feeling so much better right now. Do I have another book inside of me? Yeah, I do. I even know what it is, but give me a second. And then as far as like work projects, this is what's really interesting. And I also just want to be really honest. I'm having a little bit of a crisis because I am such a goal-oriented human. I'm constantly chasing a carrot. I love that. Give me a carrot and I will run. And with the book being done and completed, and I can say I did it and I'm an author, which is wild. I'm now looking at this like beautiful entrepreneurial bucket list that I did like, years and years and years ago. And I'm like, uh-oh, I've achieved it all. Shit. Like now what? So I'm very much in this moment presently where I'm like, I think I just finished Donkey Kong and I don't know what to do. Like I just finished the last level of Mario. I don't know what's going to happen now. So I'm to be determined.
I love that answer, Tamara. I think that like that these types of answers are the things that make us feel when I started my first company really young. And so I like listened to a lot of people out there who made me feel like I must be doing something wrong because I don't have that answer. And those are the types of answers that I think we're always looking for, which is the real, right? That's real. That is 100% real. And if you're going to write a book, there's going to be a dopamine crash, right? Like it's going to be a lot of work. It's not just putting this out into the world and getting them printed and sending them out to people. And I thank you for all of the work that you've put into it. I think that business owners are going to find a lot of value in it. If you haven't read it, go read it. How can they get in touch with you?
Well, as far as I know, I'm the only Veronica Romney out there. So Instagram and LinkedIn are my two favorite platforms. And I am a words of affirmation human. So if you were listening to this conversation and it meant something to you, please DM me and like let me know because it really does mean a lot. As far as like all things book and the world of identity marketing, we have so many free stuff. We have quizzes, we have playlists, we have like, we just like, I went over the top and everything is on identitymarketingbook.com.
Beautiful.
You're
speechless. I don't think I've ever seen you speechless.
I know that's rare. It's very rare. I can't wait to go through the framework myself because like I said, this really feels like it speaks to people who love communication.
Yes. Good marketing, ethical marketing, feel good marketing.
Yeah. So I can't wait to dive into it myself. And Nicole, maybe we can put it up on our social media. We do some test cases going through it. So that is our show today. Thank you for watching and joining us. This has been wonderful. If you like what you see, please subscribe to us on YouTube, LinkedIn, follow us, send us a DM, let us know your thoughts. We've got newsletters that are coming out, all the fun stuff. So we will see you next week.
Bye.